Welcome to Math 155, Contemporary Math, here at Aiken Technical College for the spring of 2022. And in this lesson, we'll take a look at Blackboard. We'll also take a look at XYZ homework. The first thing we'll do is we'll take a look at the tabs that are on the left-hand side of Blackboard. And the very first tab that you arrive to is the Instructor Information tab. And I am your instructor, Professor Diallo Cummings. My email is cummingd@atc.edu. My phone number is 803-508-7466. I'm in room 752, and you can also find my office hours. Next, we'll click on the Syllabus tab. And in the Syllabus tab, we can see that this is the syllabus. This is Math 155, Contemporary Math. It's a 3-credit-hour course, and the prerequisite is Math 101 or an acceptable placement score. Here's the course description. In this course, we'll deal with the following properties, operations with real numbers. There's some elementary algebra, some consumer math, applied geometry, measurement, graph sketching, interpretations, and there's also a descriptive statistics section as well. The materials you need for the course are an XYZ homework access code. Now, if you're unsure as to which code to get, you can get the right code from our bookstore, or you can order the access code online through XYZ. Optional materials are not a graphing calculator, but any scientific calculator. Now, we will be using trig functions, so you want to make sure that the calculator you have has a sine, a cosine, and a tangent function. It doesn't have to be graphing, but it has to be a scientific calculator. Next, we take a look at the course learning outcomes, and I won't read through these in their entirety. You should familiarize yourself with the course learning outcomes. There's also some policies and procedures. There's an email etiquette procedure. There's a QEP. There's a standard attendance policy. In this online course, I recommend that you log in at least once a week. There's a students with disabilities policy. There's a student support services paragraph. There's also an academic dishonesty policy. And lastly, there is an academic integrity pledge. Now, there's a spot where you are to sign and date the syllabus, but you don't have to physically sign and date and return this to me. By you registering for the course, you acknowledge all the policies, procedures, and pledges contained in this document. So at your leisure, please take some time to read through the syllabus. Next, we'll go back to Blackboard, and we'll take a look at the next tab. And the next tab is the Addendum tab. And the Addendum gives you the requirements of you as a student in the course, and it also gives you a determination on how your grade is calculated. So once again, this is Contemporary Math for the spring of 2002. Once again, here is my personal information. Required materials are an XYZ access code and a scientific calculator. And then for our grading policy, we have 4 categories: homework, quizzes, tests, and the final exam. The homework is worth 20% of your final grade. The homework is open all semester long. However, when you start to have trouble, you should immediately seek help from either myself as the instructor or the tutoring center. The quizzes are worth 25% of the final average. Each chapter has a quiz that's associated with that chapter that acts as a study guide for the test. So for our quizzes, there are 3 attempts at every question. However, for the homework and the test, there's only 1 attempt. Next, we have the test category, and we can see the anticipated test dates. We have module 1 through 5. So each module test is weighted at 5% for a total of 25%. And then lastly, we have the final exam. And the final exam is weighted at 30% of your overall average. For the final exam, as well as for the module test, we will not use honor lock. Honor lock will not be used during the duration of this course. The final exam is to be taken on or before midnight, Wednesday, April the 27th, and there are no final exam exemptions. Lastly, there's a 10-point grading scale. In order to withdraw from the course, you should communicate to me that you want to withdraw, or you should go to the enrollment center and get an add and a drop form. It doesn't matter what your grade or what point in the semester it is. If you ever want to withdraw from my courses, it's always a W. All right, so now we'll go back to the Blackboard announcements page, and we can see that the last link is the tutoring link. So I'm going to click on the tutoring link, and it gives us some information about our tutoring services. The hours of operation, both the online and the walk-in hours, and it also gives us the contact information. And lastly, we'll take a look at XYZ homework. Now, in order to register for XYZ homework, there's a bit of information you're going to need from the announcements page. So notice that the course ID is 31804. So I'm going to click on XYZ homework. And if you're new to XYZ homework, you'll register as a new student. By registering as a new student, you will automatically obtain that 15-day free trial. So you'll put in your personal information, you'll put in the course ID, and that should populate you into the gradebook. If you already have an XYZ account, you will simply log in. You would click add a new course. You would simply click you will log in. Give me 1 second, I'm going to log in. You'll log in, you'll hit add a new course, you'll put in that course ID, and that will put you into the XYZ course. So this is what the course looks like as far as XYZ is concerned, and now I'll just show you how to navigate through XYZ. So the first thing you'll notice, we have modules 1 through 5, and each module has, well, I'll tell you what, before we actually go through the assignments, let's take a look at the tabs that are both at the top and on the left hand side of XYZ. So notice at the top there's a course tab, there's a messages tab, if you want to send messages to myself or anybody in the class. There's a forums tab. Now, I don't necessarily use forums in this course, but however, there is a tab. There's also a calendar tab. Now, one thing I have to admit, the calendar is relatively blank, and there's not a lot of information going on as far as the calendar is concerned. It basically puts everything due at the end of the course, which is April the 25th. There's also a gradebook link. And one thing about the gradebook, just take the gradebook link with a grain of salt because it's not a true average. So now I'll go back to our XYZ page and we'll take a look at the links there on the left. So we basically have the same links down on the left. There's a grade book, there's a log out, and there's also a help using XYZ homework. Okay. Now as far as the layout of the course in XYZ, there are a couple of places in which you can access your textbook. We can access the textbook here. So I'm just going to click on that link. Now, we don't actually require you buy a physical textbook for our courses because the books are embedded online. You can actually save this to your personal computer, right? And you can look at it later, right? So this is one link to the ebook. There's also some instructional videos on using XYZ. So this is just an intro to homework, XYZ homework. Now this is not an actual assignment. It's just a tutorial on how to enter your answers in the XYZ. So I'll just click on that. So it says to enter numerical answers. Okay, and it gives you some information on how to enter your answers. And if I just scroll down to another question, it tells you how to enter fractions, reduce fractions, and mixed numbers. And it's just some supplementary information on working with XYZ. We can also see in the last link on the XYZ page that there is an answer entry guide. So if I click on this answer entry guide, it just gives us some steps on how to enter answers into XYZ. Okay, it also gives us some calculator functions as well. So now in order to access the homework problems, notice that for Module 1, it has a date range of January the 10th through January the 28th. So I'm going to click on this drop down. Now, one thing I did mention is that the homework is open all semester long. The dates that you see, these are for pacing reasons. So it doesn't mean that on the 14th this assignment is going to cut off or anything. This date is put here for pacing reasons, which means that around January the 14th, okay, you should be somewhere in this homework set working. Okay, doesn't mean it's due, right? It's not actually due until the last day of class, which is the 25th. All right, but the date you see here is a tentative pacing date. Now you'll notice for each section, all right, so if I wanted to actually access the homework, I'm going to click on this M1.1, which is Module 1, Section 1 homework. So if I click on that, notice that it actually brings up some homework problems. Okay, so for homework problems, some of the problems have video, some don't have video, and others would have video as well as a viewing example. I'm going to go back to our main page. So this is how you will access the homework. Next, you see there's a class lesson. So I'm going to click on class lesson. And the class lesson is just that. It's a video lesson that deals with this first section of the first module. You can also find formula sheets. Okay, if formula sheets are needed for that particular section. So the way you should proceed through the course, you should watch the class lesson. Then you should look at and print out any formula sheets. Then you should attempt to do the homework. After you've completed the homework, next you'll rinse and repeat. You'll look at the class lesson for the next section. You'll look at any formula sheets, and then you'll proceed to do the homework problem. Here again, notice that this January the 19th is not a due date, it's a pacing date. The only hard due dates are the tests. So notice that the very first test is due on or by January the 28th at 11:59. Now keep in mind that you do not have to use Honor Lock for taking any test or the final exam. So once you finish the module test, then you'll proceed to the next module. You watch any video lectures, do your homework problems, and proceed from there. Now this is basically a self-paced type course. And I do have students every semester that will finish the course early. So if that's your intent to finish the course early, be my guest to complete the homework assignments, as quickly and as thorough as possible. Okay, it is possible to complete this course before the end of the semester. You can actually receive a grade and you can concentrate on the rest of your studies. Right, and lastly, for our final exam, notice that there is a final exam review. Okay, so the final exam review, it acts as a study guide for your final exam. And lastly, our final exam is Wednesday, April the 27th, on or before midnight. So keep in mind, for the test and for the final exam, we're not using honor lock. And that completes the lesson for today. Thanks for watching.